Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Space Engineers Plus Me, episode 31. I'm Enigmaeus, and today we're back on the moon. We're still on the moon. This is the upgraded drill head configuration. You might notice it's very similar to the ones that we've been using down on the ground, except there are no pistons on the horizontal drill heads. Those are just there to kind of smooth the opening. I found without them, it was a little bit rough, a little bit jagged, and sometimes not even circular, which kind of complicated things. From time to time, we're going to go take a look at the hole that we drilled with this thing down to the platinum vein that we found so long ago. It seems so long ago. Here we go. You can see the hole is a little bit rough on the outer edges, and then as we get down into it, it smooths out a little bit because you can practically see the evolution of the drill head as we go farther down the tunnel. And this is it. This is the platinum seam. It's not very big relative to the ones that we've seen down on the planet for other materials, obviously not for platinum. But I decided that it wasn't really worth it to dig another hole all the way down to use the ship to dig up the platinum. In the time that it took us to get down to the platinum, we could have just dug it out by hand. I've upgraded all of my tools to the highest tier that's available because platinum was one of the required ingredients to do that. So we've done that. And now it's just a matter of sort of cleaning up the remainder of the seam before we go looking for a new seam of platinum. I've decided that perhaps the easiest way for me to manage this whole business of deciding whether or not we have enough platinum is to make enough thruster components for ion thrusters to make 8 large ion thrusters. And that would realistically give me enough thrust to have a large ship moving around in zero gravity. We would have hydrogen thrusters for ships that were intended to escape gravity well, like get off the surface of a planet or even off the surface of a moon. And then once you're in space in zero gravity, we don't need as much thrust. We won't necessarily have fantastic acceleration or the ability to stop on a dime, but we don't need more than, 6 to 8 thrusters in order to get around. So that's been the goal, is to make enough components just for that. If we get more than that, fantastic. If we get less than that, then we probably left too early. It's just a thing. I've been focusing my attention recently on the ice cap on the moon. There's that one area on the moon. It's got a giant crater in the middle of it, and it's just all ice on the surface. The whole idea being whatever minerals we find, in the process of getting down to the minerals, we're going to be getting ice whether we want to or not, and then that ice goes back to the base ship with the minerals and becomes hydrogen for fuel so that we can get back to the surface of the planet. So we're trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But I wish I could tell you that this whole process of finding minerals on the moon has been this serene, simplistic task of just kind of cruising around with a drill out, getting the location of the minerals on the ore detector built into the drill, and then coming back with our drill ship and extracting them. It has been anything but the case because the ore on the moon tends to be quite a bit deeper than the ore on the planet. That's one of the key issues that we've been having, is not so much coming across dark spots on the ground that might indicate the presence of ore. It's being able to actually determine what ore is there and whether or not it's worth trying to dig for. So using our shiny new drill, I've been doing these little prospecting tunnels, I guess you could say. The whole idea is that you just basically dig straight down until you don't feel like digging anymore and see if the ore detector picks up anything. Realistically speaking, I dug a lot of tunnels, and the only thing that I found was 1 seam of nickel. So it wasn't really the most effective thing that I've done since I've been on the moon. But it was just an opportunity to try it out and see if it would work. The difficulty I mentioned previously with the moon is that there's 2 different colors that have nothing to do with indicating that there's ore present. There's the regular lightish gray color, and then there's a slightly darker gray color that when you see it looks like a dark patch like you might see on the planet's surface, but on the moon it's just a different texture. It's not indicative of the presence of ore, so it's a little bit more tricky when you've been flying around for a while and all you want is some indication that you've hit the mother lode. Eventually you let yourself succumb to that lighter colored gray, and it's really not what we're looking for. So we dig and we dig, but at least when you're done, you can turn around and look at this great big long straight tunnel that you made. It's mildly amusing. I don't know why it's mildly amusing for me, but it is. And at least it's something that we can take away from the whole experience of digging these little prospecting tunnels. I realized it was probably not the best use of my time. Fun, but not the best use of my time. So one of the things that I decided would be a good idea, I had accumulated a certain amount of ice that we brought back to the base ship, converted it to fuel. I decided it might be a good idea to move the base ship so that it was closer to this ice cap where we've been doing all this work, so it's a little bit quicker and easier to get back to it. But at the same time, what I would really have liked to do was land the base ship in the middle of the large crater in the middle of the ice cap and use that as sort of our central base for our operations on the moon. But I don't want to waste a fuel, because there's a lot of fuel that goes into controlling your descent so that you don't crash when you land in the crater. And then there's a lot of fuel that's spent exiting the moon's gravity well when you're on your way back to the planet. So I decided ultimately I would be happier with the base ship in 0G above the ice cap. It's still a few kilometers away from where we are down on the surface, but it's not that bad. It's, it could be a hell of a lot worse, all things considered, and we don't have to worry about coming up with the extra fuel to escape the moon's gravity well when it's time to go. So that was kind of a thing. We moved the base ship, and then one of the things that I thought would be a quick and easy solution to the problem of finding ore, specifically platinum, of course, but just at this point, any indication of ore whatsoever, was to build like a little substation where you say, I want to build a new station, and it gives you the anchor block, and you place the anchor block, and then you can build things on it. It's anchored to the ground. So that's what I did, and it's very, very small and simple. There was the anchor block, and then a light armor block, and then attached to that was a reactor and a ore detector, and then weld it all up and put some uranium in the reactor, and the ore detector would tell us what ores were nearby. And because it's the large ship variant of these things, it would have the extended range. I think they're like 150 to 200 meters on the large ore detectors versus 50 on the small ones. So we would be able to put it right on the surface and get 150 meters deep. If there was anything there, we'd know about it, and it was going to be fantastic. And then I realized after I'd built this thing that I'd forgot to bring some uranium with me, which was not a huge problem. I had my mining ship 400 or 500 meters away, and it had 3 small reactors with about 50 kilograms of uranium in each one. So I could go pilfer some uranium, bring it back, put it in, see if it would work. Got to my ship, grabbed the uranium, went back to put it back in the thing, and it was gone. It just disappeared. I spent almost an hour and a half crisscrossing the crater in near absolute darkness looking for this thing that I thought I had lost like an idiot. The crater is not that big where we were setting this up, but I thought I had lost it, that it was there, and I just couldn't find it until I finally said, you know what, screw this is silly. I need at least some indication that I'm nearby this little thing that we built. So I went into the SE toolkit, loaded up the save, and found that it's completely gone. My little substation with the ore detector is completely gone, was no longer in the game. It would appear that it was removed by the trash collection algorithms, as someone suggested, which makes sense that it would do that. Not makes sense that in terms of game mechanics it should have been removed, but if it was going to disappear, that's a good reason why, is that the trash collection said, oh, this guy isn't using this anymore, zoop. So that was kind of a thing, and where this started to take on the name of the Crater of Despair was I'm spending all this time just trying to find something. I set up an ore detector thing, I forget to power it on the way back with the fuel, it disappears. I finally built another one. I brought enough uranium this time, it didn't take a lot, just a little bit of uranium to power it. Couldn't find anything. It wasn't showing any minerals at all, so I'm like, okay, maybe we're just in a bad spot, so I moved it. That's the whole idea with this setup, is that it's easy to set up, easy to move. I can carry all the materials with me that I need in order to make this work. Moved it, no ore. Moved it again, no ore. Moved it a 4th time, still no ore. After the 5th time and no ore, I was like, okay, I'm doing something wrong here, or I'm just expecting too much out of the density of the ore on the moon. So I inquired, and someone suggested put a flight seat on it, and then when you're in the flight seat, when you're considered to be a part of the same grid as the ore detector, then you will get the readings. So that's what I did. I put a flight seat on, and it worked. I did have to move it a few times before I found minerals, but I did finally find minerals, and proving the the concept that you had to have a flight seat. As soon as you hop out of the flight seat, after about 2 or 3 seconds, the mineral indicators disappear. So realistically speaking, in order for that thing to work, we have to have an antenna on the ship that's doing the ore detecting, and that way it can transmit whatever it's getting from the ore detector to anything that can receive. So our spacesuit, I think, certainly the antenna on our mining ship, those are the kinds of things that would let us see what the ore detectors were when we weren't part of the grid of the ship doing the ore detecting. So we're going to make a little skiff specifically for the purpose of cruising around the moon, finding the ores that we're looking for, make a GPS marker so that we can come back to it with the mining ship and then move on, look for more, get as much as we can carry without losing our minds, and then we're going to be heading back to the planet's surface where we're going to start our next mega project, and it's going to be absolutely massive compared to anything that we've done so far. So, I mean, that's what I'm really looking forward to, but I don't want to leave the moon prematurely. So next episode, probably take a brief look at the little skiff that we made, maybe a few seconds of footage of digging stuff out of the ground, and then hopefully, with any luck, no promises, but the goal is to be back onto the planet and started on that next project. So if you want to be notified when I add that next video and other videos in this and other series, you can always subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media are in the information box below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.